Welcome to Crypto.XL, your go-to spot for all things crypto. Here we dive into market trends, altcoin gems, and blockchain innovations, helping you stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of crypto. But remember, I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing here is financial advice. Always do your own research before investing. Want exclusive insights? Join the Patreon where I share buy and sell picks, market updates, and behind-the-scenes content. Hit that like, subscribe, and bell icon so you never miss an update. Let's ride the crypto wave together.
Crypto.XL. All right, so Bitcoin's currently at 107K, right? And the question is, are we going up from here or are we going down from here? If we do go up, how high do we go up? If we do go down, how low do we go? Are we going to touch the floor? I mean, no one could tell for sure. Just giving my 2 cents. I think that the range that we're in will probably, I think it's short-term bearish, but long-term or medium-term bullish, right? So if we do come down, I'm looking at 102K. If we break that, 90s. If we break that, 84K. To the upside, if we were to go up, well, actually, we're pretty close to resistance. So if we did go up, that's 113 approximately. And there's significant resistance there. So I'd be surprised if we break that short term. There's just not enough momentum. If you look at the RSI, we've been becoming weaker and weaker on a rising price. So what that tells me is that we're due a pullback, right? So as the price has been increasing from 75K to 110K, the RSI has been decreasing. So the relative strength has been decreasing, which means there's less momentum in the market or less support for these prices. So after a while, we're going to run out of steam and the hot air balloon starts to slowly come down, kind of like a rainbow or an arc, right? It starts to come down. It doesn't mean that it's over, but it does mean that short term that we should see the prices getting lower. So we will probably come down to support, and these levels that I mentioned are adequate support. I believe they will be. And should we have some news come out while the price is retracing, you can have a more rapid retracement, right? If some bearish news comes out while the prices are in question or while the RSI is weak, that's when you can have a wick to the downside. And it might wick below support only to be bought up by experienced investors and to settle above support. So, do keep in mind the price levels that I mentioned before. I believe that they will come into play, and I think we're still in a bull market, so I will look at these as buying opportunities. Bitcoin dominance has seen some resistance recently, and it's not as strong as before, not as bullish as before. if we do continue to push up on Bitcoin dominance, I believe we're going to have significant resistance heading towards the 70 level, right? So the market is designed to psych the most people out and to take the most amount of money from the most amount of people. So just be aware of this when you're trading, and to not trade emotionally and to expect the unexpected and have a plan for what the market does. If the market were to crash today, do you have a plan for that? If Bitcoin were to accelerate today and go to 120 and break that, what's your plan for that? So set up these plans ahead of time. That way you won't make bad decisions should these things happen, right? So those are the two scenarios, and those are the different levels, price levels that we should look out for. And we have not experienced the significant drop in Bitcoin dominance that we're expecting. We're expecting a cascade of downward movement for Bitcoin dominance, and once that happens, that's when you get into altcoin season. So there is a possibility, a probability that does happen. That does happen this year, and it happens within the next few months. So be aware of that and make sure you have a plan for that too. And should that happen, you just want to be positioned in the strong altcoins in the sectors and the coins that are shown historically that they're the stronger altcoins, and that they're going to dominate the cycle, because winners tend to keep on winning. So the coins that were most prevalent in the last few months, the ones that were up while everything else was down, look for a significant pullback in these altcoins, especially as Bitcoin retraces. Those would be the coins that I will be looking to pick up. So right now is not degenerate time, not just yet, where you get into the micro caps, because we've seen these micro caps falling 40% in a short amount of time. We've seen them retracing significantly in a short amount of time. Now, after the drop, should this drop happen, and after the huge wick to the downside, if you want to gamble a bit, right, and you're using money that you're not afraid to lose, because some of these projects have gone to zero. We've seen it over the cycle. Some of these micro caps have gone to absolute zero. Should you want to gamble a little bit, play roulette, when you see the Bitcoin price pull back significantly, should we get this major wick, and should it be followed by some news? The charts show what's going to happen, right? And then the news follows what the chart was already showing. But should we get that short-term capitulation, I will view it as a buying opportunity. And should you want to gamble at this point with some micro caps that could go to zero, feel free, because you never know, that could be an epic story a year from now of what happened and what you were able to get into. But that all being said, I would look at the really strong projects. I would not go gambling at this point, because as Bitcoin is above 100K, if your coin has not performed during the last few months, the last 6 months, when is it going to perform? I understand maybe not outperforming Bitcoin, okay, but if it's actually lost value while Bitcoin went from 75K to 110K, then what does it need to perform? I mean, I'd be quite skeptical at this point if I was holding a project that its price was going down as Bitcoin is breaking all-time highs. There's actually no excuse for that. I know it might be a tough market for alts. I know that alts, the top 10, the crypto market cap excluding the top 10 is not at its highest point, but it's also not at its lowest point. And if your project is at its lowest point and it's broken the lows, then that is a sign of weakness. And that's a sign that it's probably going to continue to perform like that. It's going to continue to underperform. So that means that you could have been in virtual protocol, or you could have been in one of the stronger alts. You could have been in SUI, or you could have been in one of the stronger altcoins. And even, if you're talking about mid caps, low caps, Chain GPT, these coins are performing historically well versus the rest of the market. So if you're betting on a horse race, why not bet on the faster horse? Now you could play Russian roulette and then go 100 to 1 odds and get the one that has the steepest loss in value. Engine starter, for instance, right? You could do that, and if engine starter survives and comes back, then you get your 100x, right? But all right, so the next thing is Ethereum, right? And the Ethereum beta plays, right? So Ethereum, risk reward wise, I don't think the risk is as high as most alts. I mean, Ethereum is like the number 2, right? Number 2 in market cap for alts. So risk wise is not as high. Reward wise, it's not really how it's performed so far. It's underperformed the entire cycle. We've seen alts do many more X's while ETH does remain stagnant, and it's been severely underperforming Bitcoin. Now, recently, it hit all-time lows against Bitcoin, and it bounced from that support. Since then, it has not performed the way that most enthusiasts would have expected or hoped for. But that is because we have not experienced altcoin season. So even though we have not experienced altcoin season, there are many alts that have outperformed Ethereum. I will say this, that if you were to take a look at the altcoins and you look at it like yearly performance, you'll see that most of them have not done that well. We've only heard about the few that have outperformed, right? So there are coins, Render, Virtual Protocol, Ondo, even Cetify, right? Cetify, a few of them that have done really well, that have had a retracement over the past few months, from, I would say, from January onwards, right? Especially from February onwards. We just had a little bounce, and now we're retracing, right? Bitcoin went to 107, 109, and then started retracing, then bounced to 110, and is now retracing again. So what I expect is this pullback that we're having, it's pulling back from resistance, right? It's hitting a trend line and it's pulling back, right? And I said that we could pull back to 102. I said that we could pull back to the 90s, maybe 84. I said these are all possibilities. Who knows, right? I don't know for sure. But I will say there's heavy resistance up above, and I don't expect it to just break through like that. I don't see the strength or the momentum because of the weak RSI. So let's say we're choppy, just for right now. Short term, I mean, like, with, short term what? What do I mean by short term? 4 or 5 days of choppiness. I think we'll be choppy, and during this choppy time, we might get a wick down, and this wick could be one of the last buying opportunities. So on this wick down, Ethereum could end up showing its weakness, right, during the wick down, and I expect it to psych a lot of people out, and especially since it's underperformed the entire year. And then it wicks down, and it looks extremely weak, and people get out of ETH, and I believe that will be a mistake. I think we're going to wick down, and it's going to look really, really weak. People lose faith in ETH and give up on altcoin season, and I think that might be one of the last buying opportunities before the final leg of this market. I do still think there will be a final leg of this market and I think it will be explosive and it will be strong due to the M2 money supply. Since we're following the M2 money supply, it does show that we're expecting a pullback right around this time, which we've had. And interestingly enough, right around the timing of the M2 money supply, we happen to hit the trend line that's been dating back since 2017. The trend line resistance dating back to 2017. So we hit the trend line, we pull back, and then we start hitting Fibonacci level retracement levels. At this point, that's when all of these alts, Ethereum gets wrecked, all coins, especially smaller caps, get completely wrecked and they get devastated. People lose faith in ETH and the altcoins, especially the altcoin market, and there's a bunch of confusion. And that will be the last buying opportunity. That will be the time to get into really strong projects like, say, Ponki, a lot of meme coins actually, Fartcoin, a lot of these meme coins that most folks thought were dead. I do remember on his channel mentioning going short-term or low leverage longs on these meme coins. So the way crypto works is when projects seem like they're dead and when it seems like it's the worst and that they'll never come back, that's usually the best time to acquire them. But you have to make sure that you're acquiring projects that are not going to go to zero, right? Because if you acquire those, then they go to zero, right? And then you'll be sitting on zero. No, you acquire the ones that are on multiple exchanges, that are the winners, that show a strong track record. Now, these projects that show a strong track record could have retraced 90%. So then the question is, how do I know to pick them up if they've retraced 90%? Because a lot of projects that retrace 90% go to zero, and most projects are going to go to zero. So how do I know to acquire them? Well, what I will say is that you look for relative strength. Are they stronger than the other projects? How did they perform during a bull run? How did they perform during a bullish period, if not a bull run, a bullish period in the time in the market? When Bitcoin went from 75K to 110, how did they perform? When BTC went from 45K to 75K, how did they perform? Did they outperform? If they did, then maybe, and they're still alive and the team is still viable and they're on multiple exchanges and there's a lot of liquidity, then perhaps it might behoove you to get small amounts of these while it's retracing, and you use money that you're not afraid to lose, meaning you only nibble at these things because they could go lower, right? No one wants to buy something, then you come back 3 months later and it's down another 40%, right? Can you stomach that? Can you handle that? So you have to ask yourself these questions before you go ahead and invest, because one of the reasons people lose a lot of money in this market is because they see something that they think is a surefire bet and they go all in on it, and then it drops 40% and they're like, oh my gosh, and they sell out, or they do something they shouldn't do, right? Or they pick a bad project to begin with that's going to go to zero and it drops 40% and they continue to DCA and it goes to zero over time, right? Or you could get a good project and you buy it at the wrong time. Terra Luna, good project, bought it at the wrong time and it goes to zero, right? So it's not as easy as it seems. I think it is easy, but it's not as easy as it seems. You kind of have to know what you're doing, right? You kind of have to understand the market. You have to understand the cycle, understand the timing, and understand what pushes the price of your project. And you also have to know whether or not this project is going to survive, or have an inkling on what projects will survive the market, right? So that's pretty much my stance on it. I just wanted to get back to you guys. I know that I haven't been putting up as many videos because I guess I'm just very busy. But the things that we've projected from years ago, over 2 years ago, everything is just falling into place. The timing, we might be off a month, a month and a half on I would say, like, we call altcoin season. We thought it would have been earlier. Some of the, we said Ethereum was a good play. It could have been an earlier call. It could have been a later call for when Ethereum did bounce. But I would say on the overall, the big picture, You know, we're calling the Bitcoin from the bottom, and we were calling a lot of really good calls. I will say that if you are willing to nibble at altcoins at this point, and you don't mind a short-term loss, and you'll just buy a little bit more if it goes down lower, and you don't mind, I do think we are going to see higher prices from where we are now. So I anticipate short-term a wick to the downside, and this wick to the downside could be devastating. I say wick, but it could be devastating for the altcoins, and I will see that as a buying opportunity to double up on the alts I have conviction in. And I'm expecting way higher prices. I do think we'll still have an altcoin season because every cycle we have had an altcoin season. I don't think we've ever had a cycle where we did not. So I still think it's to come. I will say though, this cycle is different than all the cycles because we've experienced all-time highs in Bitcoin before the halving, which has not happened before. And we have also not started altcoin season, and we are now in May. Altcoin season usually starts in January or Q1 of the post-halving year. This cycle is actually different. The question is, how different? You could explain these 2 points that I mentioned of the differences in the cycle by a different circumstance. This is the first time that we've had a Bitcoin ETF, or the first time that the Bitcoin, a spot Bitcoin ETF and multiple spot Bitcoin ETFs, which pushed the price up earlier than before. So you can say that. And then the question is, how does this affect altcoin season? And my answer is, we don't know yet for sure. But I will say that, altcoin season has not started yet, right? I mean, we're here, we're seeing it, it's not here yet. But I will still bet on altcoin season because I cannot afford not to. If altcoin season happens, when it starts happening, it'll be too late. It'll be too late to get in because let's say I don't have a position, then altcoin season starts. And then my coin's already up 200, 300%. Am I really going to start buying them when they're already up 300%? That kind of will screw everything up. Or I could take the risk and acquire it before altcoin season starts, and then some of my altcoins drop another 25%. And I was wrong about my conviction, and I end up losing 25% of my money. I would hate to lose 25% of my money. I don't want to do that, but at the same standpoint, I'd rather take that risk than to miss a 300% pump, if you get my drift, and then decide what to do at that point. Should I get in? Should I not get in? Because should I get in after a 300% pump, I could become exit liquidity, right? Yes. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. Do check out the Patreon if you want to find out what I'm buying, when I'm buying, and what I'm looking into. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Welcome to Crypto.XL, your go-to spot for all things crypto. Here we dive into market trends, altcoin gems, and blockchain innovations, helping you stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of crypto. But remember, I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing here is financial advice. Always do your own research before investing. Want exclusive insights? Join the Patreon where I share buy and sell picks, market updates, and behind-the-scenes content. Hit that like, subscribe, and bell icon so you never miss an update. Let's ride the crypto wave together.